All right, very good. So let's talk for a moment about low code apps, low code application development, rapid application development, various names and uses. Here's why it's important. As I mentioned, when I started, right now Highland calls this Workview. It has since 2003. They've had some aspect of this, and there's been some advancements. You're going to see some even the latest pieces when Jason shows it to you live. But just to kind of set why it's valuable and where it fits, one, it allows you, this goes more into the data aspect. When I mentioned that transitioning from documents to managing data, I almost often I'll use this as an illustration or comparison to get your mind around it. Is think about Microsoft Access and where people would either they're managing things in spreadsheets, lists, updates, those types of things, or maybe they tried to put that in a Microsoft Access database. So this is kind of that on steroids. It doesn't corrupt like Microsoft Access used to do all the time. Things along those lines, but allows you to deploy very rapidly these kind of micro solutions. So this is out in the industry. You can see it. We're also a CRM provider, and so Microsoft Salesforce, they're talking about this just as much as OnBase is. So the real value and the thing to keep in mind of why, if you're looking at different options on this, why OnBase might be a better alternative as you're thinking about these low code apps that you want to build is think about all the functionality that's in the OnBase toolkit. Everything from document generation to collaboration to revisioning to you just have that entire set of, and even storing documents. All of that is right at your fingertips. So then you can kind of put these applications on top of it. Also, a huge benefit is that you can, much like OnBase, for those that are using OnBase today, quite often we reach out to external applications, whether it's your ERP or your line of business, your claim system, that type of thing. We have solutions, we've had solutions for years where we'll even set an application on top of, say, an AS400 type of a thing, and where it might have been on multiple screens, the data was in different places, and we created a centralized view or maybe it's a mixture of data that comes from the line of business system, and you want to capture some data that rather than enhancing or replacing your existing asset, this allows you to kind of expand some functionality or capability of the system as well. So a lot of value. One thing that I don't think people think about, but I think it's huge, is the scalability from a licensing perspective. So, and especially in the new model. So I'll give you an example. So we're talking to somebody right now who is looking at an HR process, an employee review manual, and so they were going to license everybody in their organization to OnBase. So they were like, well, we want to take advantage of moving also into AP. We also have some regulatory requirements that we have to meet that we're going to have to look at. They're like, well, how much more is that licensing going to cost? And the answer was none. Everybody had a license, and so you can now build things on top of it. So I just give kind of a higher level examples over here around contract management. We do a good bit with that. In fact, we've got people on the call today that maybe started in AP and then they expanded OnBase and layered on a contract management solution. Some of these have accelerators. Some of these have ways to even assist you. Workview is a point and click, mostly a point and click type of approach. It is called low code, so you got to have some conceptual ideas about how to build, your data models and stuff. But very rapidly, it's not like a custom development effort. And so, so maybe contract management's there. If you then go into then HR or say even something like an IT help desk, those are very high level examples. Highland, to just get your mind around the potential of this, I'm not going to dwell on this, but these are from Highland presentations that I just went out and pulled on like use cases that other people used. It's across different industries, all kinds of different examples. This is being recorded. You can go back and look at the specific ones if you want to later. These are all different industry solutions. Over 270 of them that we're aware of. Often in your implementations, you may build stuff that Highland may not ever have visibility into. This is just those are ones that Highland even is aware of, and it's a supported platform. So these are applications that you can build where the fundamental core foundation of OnBase is supported. So wanted to spend some time just talking about that, but some real value, and I think people shortchange it on how you can just continue to add or maybe even replace existing systems that you may have these little micro applications and move it over into OnBase, and you can save significant software dollars by doing something like that. So I'm going to stop sharing, and Jason, let you kind of run with some visual examples.
Check. Visual examples.
Okay.
You see me again?
Yep.
All right. I'm going to actually switch up my order here a little bit. So we got a couple things we want to show you today. For those of you that are familiar with contract management, or sorry, with Workview, you've heard contract management again and again, I'm sure, because that was kind of one of the first sort of pre-bundled Workview low-code solutions that they had out there, and it's certainly the most popular. But very important to note that there are a lot of additional ones now, and that's what I want to show you first. But we're going to look at that one first, just for the folks that haven't maybe done that, or haven't seen Workview, or haven't been in this world. And then at the end, I want to show you something that we did internally with Workview that we're using, or a sample of it, I should say, that maybe shows some of the new capabilities to the folks that are familiar with it, some of the new stuff that's out there and what it can do today. So I'm going to jump in first. Nothing crazy special here. We're just going to go into Unity. I'm in contract management over here. We've run a query. This is their contract management tool. So this is Workview. For anybody that has not seen it, you get your filters down the left-hand side. Those are your searches. And then here's your actual data objects. Now, when I talk about objects, right, this is the big thing that those of you that are not familiar with case management or Workview, this is the big thing that people really struggle to put their head around in OnBase, right? Because everything in OnBase is document driven. It has been for 30 years or whatever it is. I got a document that kicks this off, or I even have an electronic form that becomes a document that kicks this off, right? Case management, Workview, low code, whatever you want to call it, it's all the same thing. What that really means is dealing with the data that's coming in that really has nothing, there may not be a document around it, right? So if I get a phone call and I want to kick off some process, or I want to track the details of that phone call, or track the resulting actions of that phone call, there's nothing around that. I can't store the phone call. Well, I could actually be recording it, but I'm typically not going to be storing the phone call, right? That's where this stuff comes in. So when you look at these guys in this contract management example, for example, let's go ahead and open up this guy. It's just data, right? It's data elements around this. It's an application. So again, think Excel, think Access back in the day. Think these things that you're tracking where you're just adding line after line just to track status, process, outstanding items, that sort of thing. So this is a peek at the contract management piece. You can see we got some icons up here, kind of quick and dirty, showing you where it's at in the process. This is a fairly standard Workview screen for those of you that haven't seen it. We've got data elements all over, and of course we can do calendars and things like that you would expect. You can add sub items. So there's a couple of tasks that have been assigned to that, and I can double click to open those up. And now I see this, the child tasks that are assigned to this particular contract as it moves through the process. If there are documents associated with it, those can be signed and attached to, or attached to the object. That is also, Mike touched on it. That's another really big pro to doing some of the low code stuff in the OnBase platform, is because you're doing it in OnBase, you've got access to everything else, right? So I've got workflow behind these items if I want to do actions on them. If I've got electronic forms, I've got electronic signatures, which fits real well with the contract management example, and share based, and folders, or pick one, right? There's 100. You've got all that stuff available, already integrated with the application that you're building. So no matter what it is, if it's ticketing, if it's issue tracking, or whatever it might be, all that backend stuff is there already without having to write it. And unfortunately, that's usually what we see folks run into, is when you go out and you buy the third-party solution, or you build your own solution, hey, they probably do a great job at that one thing. But then when you want them to do a little bit more, well, you can't, right? Or you're writing more. And with this stuff, you don't have to. So we're looking at contracts there, data fields mostly, related contracts down here. There's some subcontracts in this particular example. I've got a history. This is one I want to touch on for a second too. So that's another kind of real advancement in this low-code Workview world that Highland has made, is the exposing some of the admin capabilities out to the business unit, right? So the problem with these in the past, and especially still the problem if you write your own, is if you need to change, or you need to change a process, or just make a little tweak, that's something that the developer has to do. And what Highland has done is done a really good job of wrapping some administration panels into some of these projects, right, into some of these applications. And this is an example from contract management where, if I have permissions, it's not everybody, whoever has permissions, I can come in here and say, hey, you know what, for this particular contract, I want to change the couple of steps that it goes through because I don't want it to do the same thing as the normal ones. It's a little bit different for whatever reason. Or if I go into another area, for all contracts, I need to change the steps that it goes through. I need to add a step. I need to remove a step. I need to change something in the process. That can all be done client side as well. All right. So that, yeah, I want to describe my changes. That's kind of standard. I think a lot of you have probably seen that. You know, we talked real quickly about, you know, having access to the other on-base components while we're in here. You know, this is a good example right here. Well, here's one of the contracts that we're working on right there. You know, I can go ahead and say revisions and renditions, and I want to compare those. You know, that's just an example of the stuff that you guys have available to you already with on-base, but now you can tie them into these applications as well. And apparently that's going to go slow. There we go. All right, so we've got, you know, there's my original, there's my revision. So I'm comparing two revisions of the same document. This is Word functionality. You guys are probably familiar with this already, but it's in on-base and it's tied to on-base. The document's never left. All right, so let's close that down and let's look at some more stuff here. So that's great, right? Those are fine. You know, we've got the reporting component. There's some of those you folks that have seen the reporting component out there. Let's go ahead and open this up. This is a web version of it, but this is just the contract management standard report, dashboard report that comes with it. You can see they're all red because I'm in a sample environment and it's all expired, but you know, I come in here, this is still live. I can turn that off, turn the contracts off, or turn them all off and say I only want the NDAs that show up. You know, what's Cindy got out there? This is all she has out there. This is the status on them, right? How many total do I have out there? You know, contract, if you wanted to do, you know, time in process or time to expiration or reports on how many vendors have what out there, you know, all that kind of stuff. That's reporting dashboards, which I think most of you are familiar with too. But again, an important thing that you're adding by default to your application by building it inside of OnBase. Next one here too, Outlook, right? You guys have, I know for a fact that you've all been beaten over the head with Outlook and integration over the years. But here's another piece, right? Nobody ever uses that Workview button, but we can. So let's click on that. I've got a Workview pane that opens up here. Now this is simple, but I can go ahead in here and say, Somerset was one of them. That's the one I'm looking at for the email. And hey, there's a search across my application for data coming back from Somerset. That's a full text search right there. I can even narrow it down. So you know what? All I want is a contract coming back from when I search on Somerset. So let's do it again. There's my contracts, right? If I select that guy, go ahead and open them up. This is going to be the same one we looked at before. So, but I just got to it outside of Outlook. So again, one more kind of value add that you're just not going to get in every other situation. All right, so contract management.
So not to interrupt you too much there, Jason, but just to get people thinking. I mean, you're looking for Somerset right there. I mean, think in terms of like knowledge base or terms or things that you might open up to your users if you've got things that questions. I mean, even think in terms of simple of new hire questions, common questions, just giving them a panel to be able to search for any content within, not just at a higher level, at a keyword level, any content within the data object. This is pretty powerful to me. So good job showing it. I wanted to just take an extra moment here because it's pretty cool that you're tying it right into the on-base client. So you can go ahead.
No, that's good. And actually, too, you saw me do this manually. I ran out of time, or I would have hooked this up a different way. But this can be automated too, right? When I open this contextual pane, you can have OnBase go ahead and take, you know, the domain from the email address or the domain or maybe the subject line or some of the keywords or whatever, and do a search and just automatically show you the results here already. So you can almost kind of have, you know, I certainly don't want to call it a CRM system, but it's almost CRM-like functionality tied in with your messages coming in, but specific to your application, whatever that may be. So let's switch gears a little bit here real quick. Actually, you know what? Yeah, I'm still going to switch gears. So ACE, I don't know if you've heard this or not. This is a new plus from the Highland side as well, and this is pretty cool as well. So what Highland has done is, you know, one of the problems that they saw in the past was even though it was low-code, no-code development on Workview, it still takes time to build these things, right? And that's, you know, that's with any application. But one of the ways that Highland has implemented to try to speed that up is these ACE files or these these application templates, if you want to call them that, whatever you want to call them. What this basically is, I'm showing an Excel file here, and you can see some example fields. I can go ahead and I can build out the most of the guts basically of what this application would be and all the fields and what they are and how they relate and the different searches and all of that stuff that you saw, like in contract management. I can build that out on an Excel file. So as I'm doing my discovery and I'm doing my documentation and laying out what I want my application to look like and what the fields are and how it's going to work, I'm recording all that. If I record that all in here and you do it in this format, I can go ahead and load that into OnBase, and it's just automatically built all of that stuff for me. Now I still got to do my views, and there's still some stuff you're going to hook up. It's not like it's magic; it's going to do everything. But you've just taken a huge chunk of that development time out of the mix by using these ACE files. And the reason I bring these up is, take a look. I went and got this yesterday. So from the Highland website, from community right now, and you guys can go out and download. And this is like, I think it's 43 or something, 43 different packages or templates, if you will, for different applications for Workview. This is them, right? They're pretty straightforward, and some will include, import export files for Studio. Some will just have the ACE file. Some will have both, and they'll walk you through how it works and all that fun stuff. This is a great starting point for a lot of different things, right? So what we did, I mentioned that I promised that I wouldn't just talk contract management the whole time, and I'll keep to it here before we're done. What we actually did was we needed a project management tool inside the OnBase team, right? Specific to us. There's a lot of tools out there and they're great for what they do, but you guys have been around OnBase enough, and there's a lot of specific things that we wanted to work with. So what we did was we took this project management download file, loaded it up in our own environment, and then started tweaking. And what we've got here is, I will show you this, a sample of the results. This is not the full, this is just the demo environment version of it, but so let's go into the web client here. This is actually cloud-based for us as well. Oops, where am I going? Actually cloud-based for us. This is off the Highland Cloud. This is a project management app. Now, for those of you who have seen contract management, have seen Workview over the years, this is where I said it gets a little bit different, and I want to show you some differences too. So when I open one of these up, okay, that is not your standard looking Workview screen right there, right? Or even the functionality as I jump down the tabs on the side and all that. They have made tremendous strides in allowing different configurations. I can turn the tasks on and off over here. Allowing different styling, different configurations, different functionality in there based on what I'm trying to do, right? So you can fly through this. This is our little project management app. Again, this is just a sample right here, but there's my contacts that are involved with this project. I can do a few deliverables. Testing, that's a big ugly URL right now, and that's just because I haven't gotten past that in the demo environment yet. But what that actually does is this will launch a Unity form that for us, a client who's in the testing process can distribute to their folks. Doesn't cost any licenses for them or us. And they fill out that form. That form is specific to this project. And if they fill it out and say, oh, I hit an issue, I can do a screenshot, I can do attachments, and it's going to go ahead and plop a new issue into the system here. Okay, and of course, these are related to the main project, so I can go in here whenever I need to and go in and see the details or change the status or, like that one's completed and I'm done, right? So, but those of you that have seen OnBase over the years, this is going to look and act a lot different. Now, the tabs across the top here, right? If I go over to the standard tab, there's the same old thing, right? That's the same application, just presented a different way, and that's what, if you're used to it over the years, that's where you